In the quiet suburb of Millbrook, nestled just outside the bustling city of Hartford, Connecticut, a heinous crime shattered the illusion of peaceful suburban life. On a crisp autumn morning in September 2018, the body of 17-year-old Sarah Thompson was discovered in the woods behind her family's home. The gruesome scene sent shockwaves through the community, leaving residents locked behind their doors and whispering about the killer walking among them. Detective Michael Carter, a seasoned investigator with the Hartford Police Department, was called in to lead the case. With his keen intuition and unwavering dedication, Carter delved into the intricate web of lies and deceit surrounding Sarah's murder. Little could he have imagined that this case would test his perceptions and force him to confront the darkest aspects of human nature. As the investigation unfolded, suspicion initially fell on Sarah's stepmother, Amanda Wilson. The troubled relationship between the two was no secret to their neighbors, and Amanda's jealousy of her stepdaughter seemed to provide a motive. However, beneath the surface of this seemingly straightforward case lurked a twisted tale of betrayal, secrets, and fatal consequences. At the center of this tragedy was Robert Wilson, Sarah's stepfather, a respected businessman and pillar of the community. Robert appeared to be the grieving father figure, supporting his wife in their shared loss. But as Detective Carter would soon discover, Robert's carefully constructed facade concealed a web of lies that would ultimately lead to his undoing. This is the story of a murder that tore apart a family, tested a detective's instincts, and revealed the devastating consequences of unbridled desire and betrayal. It serves as a chilling reminder that sometimes the most dangerous predators hide in plain sight, wearing the mask of normality in our own neighborhoods. Sarah Thompson was a vibrant and promising young woman whose life was tragically cut short just weeks before her 18th birthday. Born to single mother Amanda Thompson in 2001, Sarah grew up as a bright and curious child, always eager to learn and explore the world around her. From an early age, Sarah showed a passion for art and literature. Her teachers often praised her creativity and insightful writing, singling her out as a student with great potential. Sarah's artwork adorned the walls of her high school, and she had recently begun to explore photography, capturing the beauty of nature in the forest behind her home, the same forest that would eventually become the site of her untimely death. Despite her academic and artistic achievements, Sarah's family life was far from perfect. At age 12, her mother married Robert Wilson, a prosperous local businessman. Although Sarah initially welcomed the stability Robert brought to their lives, the relationship between stepdaughter and stepfather became increasingly strained as Sarah entered her teens. Her friends and classmates described Sarah as caring but fiercely independent. She had a small, close-knit group of friends and was known for standing up against bullying. Her best friend, Emily Chun, recalled Sarah's dream of studying journalism at New York University, aspiring to become an investigative reporter and uncover truths hidden beneath the surface. Sarah's relationship with her mother, Amanda, had always been complex. As an only child, Sarah had been the center of Amanda's world for years. However, Robert's arrival in their lives created a shift in the dynamic. Sarah often felt that her mother prioritized her new marriage over their maternal filial bond, resulting in frequent arguments and emotional distancing. In the months leading up to her death, those close to Sarah noticed a change in her behavior. She became more withdrawn and spent more and more time alone in her room or wandering through the woods with her camera. Her art took on darker themes, and her normally meticulous schoolwork began to wane. Emily recalled that Sarah seemed distracted and preoccupied, but when pressed, she would brush off her worries with a forced smile and a change of subject. What no one knew at the time was that Sarah had stumbled upon a secret that would prove fatal. In her search for the truth and driven by her natural curiosity, she had discovered something that someone was willing to kill to keep hidden. Sarah Thompson's young life, full of promise and potential, was snuffed out just as she stood on the threshold of adulthood, leaving behind a mourning community and a mystery that would shake Millbrook to its foundations. Robert Wilson, 45 years old at the time of Sarah's murder, presented himself as the epitome of suburban success. A charismatic and respected financial advisor, Robert had built a thriving firm in Hartford, where he managed the wealth of some of the city's wealthiest residents. His polished looks and self-assured attitude made him a natural community leader. He was a member of the local Chamber of Commerce and coached youth soccer. Born and raised in a working-class Boston family, Robert had climbed the social ladder through a combination of charm, intelligence, and ruthless ambition. He met Amanda Thompson at a charity gala in 2012, and their whirlwind romance culminated in marriage just 8 months later. To the outside world, Robert appeared to be the perfect husband and stepfather, providing stability and financial security for Amanda and Sarah. However, beneath the veneer of success and respectability, Robert harbored dark secrets and unfulfilled desires. His marriage to Amanda had quickly lost its luster, and he was drawn to the excitement of an illicit affair. For the past year, Robert had been in a passionate relationship with Elena Gonzalez, the wife of his next-door neighbor and close friend, David. Robert's relationship with Elena was more than just a physical attraction. He felt truly alive in her presence, experiencing a connection he thought he had never shared with Amanda. The two lovers saw each other in secret, stealing moments of passion while their spouses were at work or running errands. Robert became adept at lying and manipulating those around him to maintain his double life. As Sarah entered adolescence, Robert became increasingly uncomfortable in her presence. Her perceptive nature and keen eye for detail made him fearful that she would discover his infidelity. He began to avoid spending time alone with his stepdaughter, making excuses to miss dinners and family events. Friends and colleagues described Robert as charming and generous, always willing to play a joke or lend a hand. David Gonzalez, unaware of Robert's treachery, often praised him as the best neighbor and friend a man could ask for. Robert's clients trusted him implicitly, attracted by his sure guarantees and impressive track record. However, those who knew Robert best sensed an undercurrent of discontent. His assistant at the financial firm noticed his increasing irritability and distractibility in the months leading up to Sarah's death. Mark Stevens, his old college friend, observed that Robert seemed to live on edge, as if he was constantly looking over his shoulder. Did anyone suspect that behind Robert Wilson's neat image was a man capable of unspeakable acts, driven by desperation to protect his secrets and preserve his way of life at any cost? The grisly discovery occurred on the morning of September 15, 2018, by a jogger on his usual path through the woods behind the Wilson residence. Sarah Thompson's body lay partially hidden under a pile of leaves and branches, a crude attempt at concealment that did little to hide the horrific nature of the crime. Detective Michael Carter arrived on the scene within the hour, his experienced eye fixed on every detail. Sarah's body showed signs of a violent struggle. There were bruises on her arms and face, and defensive wounds on her hands indicated she had fought desperately for her life. The cause of death was immediately apparent, a jagged wound to the throat, probably inflicted with a saw blade. As the forensic team combed the area for evidence, Carter noticed several key details. Sarah's camera, which her friend said she always carried with her on her excursions into the woods, was missing. Drag marks and disturbed vegetation suggested that the body had been moved from the initial site of the attack, possibly in an attempt to conceal it to avoid immediate discovery. Most tellingly, there were no signs of sexual assault, leading Carter to suspect that the motive for the murder was personal rather than opportunistic. The brutality of the attack pointed to a crime of passion, committed by someone who knew Sarah and had been driven by a moment of uncontrollable rage. As news of the murder spread, the once peaceful Millbrook community was plunged into a state of fear and suspicion. Neighbors who once left their doors unlocked now double-checked their security systems. Parents wouldn't let their children out, and the woods, once a playground, became a no-go zone, cordoned off with yellow police tape. Detective Michael Carter, a 20-year veteran of the Hartford Police Department, took over the investigation with grim determination. Known for his meticulousness and uncanny ability to see connections others overlooked, Carter had solved some of the department's toughest cases. Standing in the living room of the Wilson home, staring at the family photos on the mantel, he knew this case would test him as never before. The first 48 hours of the investigation were a whirlwind of activity. Carter and his team conducted initial interviews with family, friends, and neighbors. Sarah's school records were examined, her social media accounts analyzed, and her movements in the days leading up to her death were painstakingly reconstructed. Robert Wilson, who appeared shocked, provided a detailed description of her whereabouts on the night of the murder. He claimed that he had been working late in his office, a fact corroborated by security footage and the testimony of his assistant. Amanda Wilson, still visibly distressed, struggled to maintain her composure during cross-examination. She admitted to arguing with Sarah the evening before her disappearance but insisted it was typical mother-daughter friction. As Carter delved deeper, a picture began to emerge of a household plagued by tensions. Neighbors spoke of frequent arguments between Sarah and her mother, with their voices often raised across the manicured lawn. Sarah's best friend, Emily Chun, revealed that Sarah had been increasingly unhappy at home, feeling trapped and misunderstood. The initial findings of the forensic team offered more questions than answers. Trace evidence found on Sarah's clothing did not match the samples taken from Robert or Amanda. The murder weapon, probably a hunting knife or similar serrated blade, was nowhere to be found despite a thorough search of the Wilsons' property and surrounding areas. A breakthrough came when Carter interviewed Elena Gonzalez, the Wilsons' next-door neighbor. Elena, visibly nervous during the interview, mentioned that she had seen Sarah arguing with Amanda in their driveway the day before she disappeared. More intriguingly, Elena let slip that Amanda had always seemed jealous of her daughter's youth and beauty. This information, combined with the tumultuous family atmosphere and Amanda's unconvincing alibi for the night of the murder, led Carter to focus his attention on Sarah's mother. He theorized that years of resentment had eventually boiled over, resulting in a confrontation that proved deadly. As the investigation entered its second week, Carter felt confident they were on the right track. He obtained a warrant to search Amanda's personal effects and communications, hoping to find the crucial evidence that would unlock the case. However, a nagging doubt haunted Carter's mind. Something about Robert Wilson's calm demeanor and perfect alibi seemed too clean, too convenient. Little did Carter know that his instincts were leading him toward a truth far more sinister than he could have imagined. As the investigation progressed, all signs seemed to point to Amanda Wilson as the prime suspect in her daughter's murder. Driven by the available evidence, Detective Carter began to build a case against the 42-year-old housewife with a troubled past. Carter's team uncovered a series of heated text message exchanges between Amanda and Sarah in the weeks leading up to the murder. In one particularly vicious argument, Amanda accused Sarah of trying to sabotage her marriage, while Sarah responded by calling her mother a pathetic, jealous old woman. These digital crumbs seemed to support the theory of a family dynamic that had reached a breaking point. Amanda's behavior after Sarah's death further fueled suspicions. Although initially distressed, she quickly became defensive and evasive during questioning. Her alibi for the night of the murder was weak. She claimed she was home alone watching television, with no one to corroborate her story. A search of the Wilsons' home turned up a diary hidden in Amanda's bedside table. The entries detailed her growing resentment toward Sarah, lamenting the girl's beauty and the attention she received from Robert. One haunting passage read, "Sometimes I wish she would disappear. Our lives would be so much better without her constant presence, her judging eyes." The case against Amanda seemed to be strengthened when a neighbor reported seeing her returning home in the early hours of the morning on the day Sarah's body was discovered. Amanda had no explanation for this late-night excursion, claiming that she must have been sleepwalking, a condition she had never mentioned before. As the circumstantial evidence mounted, Carter came under increasing pressure from his superiors and the media to make an arrest. The community, gripped by fear, demanded justice for Sarah. Amanda Wilson, once a sympathetic figure, became the target of public hatred and suspicion. Carter, though increasingly certain of Amanda's guilt, couldn't shake a nagging doubt. Something about her desperation and fear during interrogations didn't fit the image of a calculating killer. However, with evidence in hand, he prepared to make an arrest. On a rainy Tuesday morning, 3 weeks after Sarah's body was found, Amanda Wilson was arrested. As she was led out of her home in handcuffs, she protested her innocence, and her cries echoed through the stunned neighborhood. Robert Wilson watched from the doorway, his face an unreadable mask as his wife was shoved into the back of a patrol car. Little did Carter know, in his zeal for justice, he had fallen for a brilliantly orchestrated hoax, leaving the real killer free to cover his tracks. The case against Amanda Wilson seemed irrefutable, but Detective Michael Carter couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. It was a small, easily overlooked detail that finally put him on the path to the truth. While reviewing security footage from businesses near the Wilsons' home, Carter noticed that Robert's car was leaving his office parking lot much earlier than he had claimed on the night of the murder. Intrigued by this discrepancy, Carter decided to dig deeper into Robert Wilson's life. He re-interviewed Robert's colleagues and clients, paying closer attention to the man's movements and relationships. It was during a conversation with Robert's assistant that Carter stumbled upon a crucial piece of information. Robert had been making frequent and unexplained trips to a cafeteria across town, always during his lunch hour. Surveillance of the cafeteria revealed a startling discovery: Robert was meeting regularly with Elena Gonzalez, his neighbor's wife. The two displayed an intimacy that went far beyond friendly interactions between neighbors. Carter had discovered Robert's secret affair. With this new information, Carter approached Elena for another interview. Faced with the evidence of the affair, Elena broke down, revealing the extent of her relationship with Robert. They had been involved for over a year, stealing moments together whenever they could. Racked with guilt, Elena admitted that she had lied in her earlier statement to protect Robert. The affair shed new light on Robert's alibi for the night of the murder. Elena confirmed that they had indeed seen each other that night, contradicting Robert's claim that he had been working late. This revelation threw Robert's carefully constructed chronology into disarray. When Carter delved deeper into the relationship between Robert and Elena, he uncovered a web of lies and secret trysts. Bank records showed that Robert had recently inquired about transferring large sums of money. Trace evidence found on Sarah's clothing did not match the samples taken from Robert or Amanda. The murder weapon, likely a hunting knife or a similar serrated blade, was nowhere to be found, despite a thorough search of the Wilsons' property and surrounding areas. A breakthrough came when Carter interviewed Elena Gonzalez, the Wilsons' next-door neighbor. Elena, visibly nervous, mentioned seeing Sarah arguing with Amanda the day before she disappeared. Elena also revealed that Amanda had always seemed jealous of her daughter's youth and beauty. This, combined with Amanda's weak alibi, led Carter to suspect that Sarah's mother might be the killer. However, everything changed when Emily Chun, Sarah's best friend, approached Carter with Sarah's personal diary. Emily admitted she had hidden it, afraid of tarnishing Sarah's memory, but when suspicion fell on Amanda, she realized that the truth was more important than protecting secrets. Carter spent a sleepless night reading the diary, which painted a vivid picture of Sarah's suspicions about her stepfather, Robert. She described seeing him in compromising situations with Elena Gonzalez and how she struggled with whether to confront him or tell her mother. The most damning entry, written just days before her murder, described following Robert and witnessing him embrace Elena. This revelation provided the missing motive. Sarah had discovered Robert's affair, threatening the perfect life he had carefully built. Faced with the possibility of losing everything, his marriage, his reputation, and his financial stability, Robert would stop at nothing to protect his secrets. A re-examination of the forensic evidence revealed fibers from Robert's expensive suit on Sarah's jacket. Sarah's phone records showed brief calls to Robert's office on the day of her disappearance, suggesting she may have been trying to confront him. Carter also discovered that Robert had recently purchased a hunting knife, matching the type believed to have been used in the murder, just a week before Sarah was killed. As the pieces came together, Carter realized Robert had skillfully manipulated everyone, diverting suspicion onto Amanda while covering his own tracks. It became clear that Robert was the killer, driven to murder his stepdaughter to protect his double life. Carter decided to confront Robert in his office, away from the media and neighbors. When Carter and his partner entered Robert's upscale financial advisory firm, they found him in the middle of a meeting, the picture of professional composure. In a quiet voice, Robert began to confess. He explained how Sarah had confronted him in the woods, threatening to expose his affair. In a moment of panic, terrified of losing everything, he lashed out and killed her. Robert admitted to meticulously framing Amanda, exploiting the known tensions between stepmother and stepdaughter. As Carter placed him under arrest, Robert's only plea was, "Don't tell Elena, please don't let her know what I've done." Robert Wilson was led out of his office in handcuffs, his carefully constructed life crumbling around him. 2 weeks later, after a brief trial, the jury returned a guilty verdict on all counts, including first-degree murder. The judge, citing the brutal nature of the crime and Robert's calculated attempts to deceive investigators, sentenced him to life in prison without parole. Justice had been served, but the emotional scars left behind by Robert's actions would take much longer to heal. Robert Wilson's case stands as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable loss, the relentless pursuit of justice, and the enduring power of a young woman's voice, even one silenced by violence, to reveal the truth.